I'm standing in front of a car that I recognize to be the same car that I was held captive in when I was kidnapped by a man a week ago. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is the car. I demand the authority or the police, like, right now.
Turn left. Turn right. Face me. Patricia, sweetie, who was the one who attacked you?
Out of all the guys, I think it's a Mexican one. I don't know for sure, but I think it could be him.
Alright, come with me. I'm Mexican too, but they didn't know.
Watch out!
Mr. Miranda, you are here today because a young girl named Patricia has recently been kidnapped and raped. We are conducting an investigation and you are a person of interest. What were you doing on March 3rd at 12 a.m.?
I was at home, watching TV, trying to fall asleep. I don't know anything about this.
Really, amigo? Because you have been positively identified as the attacker. And don't even try to lie to me, boy.
This is a lie. I would never do anything like that.
1 hour later.
How many times do I have to tell you? Patricia was the one who identified you. You Mexicans have nothing better to do than commit crime.
And how many times I tell you I didn't do anything to that girl? You're holding me under custody with a falsified probable cause, meaning you have no valid reason for holding me hostage.
Patricia told us everything. Since you are guilty, all of your Bill of Rights are nullified. Or in other words, your first 10 amendments no longer apply to you since you are a criminal. I've had enough of this, Mr. Miranda. You raped and kidnapped her. You are disgusting. Just admit that you are the one who did it.
Fine, I did it. I raped and I kidnapped the girl. I took her out and I did it to her. Are you happy?
Well, that does it then, mister. Please take your time to write your statement right here on this piece of paper.
Piece of pen. Mr. Moore, the officer displayed aggressive conduct towards me and forcefully made me confess. He kept me in the interrogation room for hours and continuously insisted that I committed the crime.
Were you aware of your rights?
Unfortunately, I wasn't.
Based on the information that you have given me, the officer violated the rights and insinuated your confession, objectifying it as involuntary. I submitted an appeal to the Supreme Court of Arizona. It's unconstitutional for my client's confession to be submitted in the court's proceeding because his response was entirely voluntary. The officer did not inform Miranda of his rights to an attorney. Additionally, the officer mistreated my client by using demeaning behavior.
Lawyer Moore, is there any evidence that proves to us that Miranda's rights weren't read to him?
Yes, Your Honor. There is my client's testament who was pressured by the officer that arrested him that night.
But what's to say he isn't lying right now?
Your Honor, he's not lying. He felt guilty for the crime he committed. However, he had no knowledge of his rights, which is why it should be considered unconstitutional. It's the duty of our justice system to have our citizens be conscious of their natural rights. Without the knowledge of his rights, Miranda's confession should have been preceded by the court.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Miranda's constitutional rights were not violated because he did not specifically request counsel or an attorney that investigates this case. Therefore, your appeal is hereby rejected. The conviction, the formal declaration of Mr. Miranda being guilty of a criminal offense must be revoked and re-evaluated after taking Mr. Moore's appeal into consideration. Because of this request to reverse a decision made in the lower courts, we are here today to present a final verdict. Although this objection was overruled at the last court meeting, the evidence, being Mr. Miranda's written confession of committing crime, was involuntary, therefore will be excluded from the court's proceedings.
Mr. Miranda has had his Fifth Amendment right, the right not to self-incriminate, violated when he was put into question. He was not made aware that he could have an attorney present while he was being questioned or that he could remain silent.
Resulting, the 20 to 30 years of imprisonment on each charge of assault would be unjust, since it was based on this written confession that was articulated unconstitutionally. The coercive nature of the interrogation that provoked Mr. Miranda to self-incriminate has led the Supreme Court to overturn Miranda's conviction.
There have been many interrogations in the past where officials have inflicted some type of mental or physical abuse and suspects in hope to speed up an investigation. On top of that, these individuals are unaware of their immediate rights. These rights must be known to these individuals. Therefore, from this day forward, the Miranda warning must be read to an individual convicted of a crime before they are in custody.
As a court, we have constitutional responsibilities to ensure justice is carried out in an equitable manner. The ideas pointed out that suspects will always request an attorney once these rights are read and that the Miranda warning is depriving the police from collecting confessions is absurd. Justice for the people comes first, no matter how common sense this may seem to some of my peers in this court. The Miranda warning will be stated to everyone before they are interrogated and taken into custody. The Miranda warning will say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to speak to an attorney and to have an attorney present during any interrogation. Caso cerrado.
This just in, breaking news on the Supreme Court's verdict. We have Samantha Murillo outside of the Supreme Court. Sam, go ahead.
Yes, we are right outside of the Supreme Court where the verdict has just been ruled and Ernesto Miranda was supposed to get his rights read to him. Now this has caused a huge controversy and a huge issue since he did confess to what he did without having his rights read to him. Now, because of this, every time someone is going to get arrested, they're supposed to have their Miranda rights read to them, which basically states what they're going to undergo through the process of the law. With that being said, back to you, Jan.
Yo, Q, watch out. You watch out. What are you gonna do about it?
In the arms of the angel, fly away.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed for you. Do you have any questions with what I just said?
No.